It's official. Belisarius Prime is finally here and his skills are confirmed. But should you be investing in him? Join me to find out why. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay episode from your very own Shappy Gaming. If you haven't already, be sure to drop a like. Belisarius Prime is here, and this is exciting news. Now, I'm sure this is not the first video that you're going to see on this, and it won't be the last. So I'm going to try and give some insight that I think is unique to me and hopefully adds a little bit of value to you. So, Belisarius Prime. This one really caught me off guard, if I'm being honest. I thought that we were going to be getting a different commander that wasn't a Prime, but it'll be fine. Now, one thing that automatically, off the bat, really caught me off guard is the fact that this Belisarius Prime is very, very similar to OG Belisarius. Like, we're going to go through the skills here in a sec, but, like, I'm really surprised. Now, one thing I will call out here, again, this is probably not the first or last video you're going to see on Belisarius Prime. So, what I'm going to say is check the chapters down below. I'm going to be talking about different pairings, what I think of the talents, and read through all the skills so you can see firsthand what I think. So without further ado, let's talk through what we're looking at here. We have cavalry, versatility, and mobility. What does this mean? This means pretty upfront, Belisarius is probably going to be a secondary commander. With the mobility tree, it's not really viable when we're talking about fighting as a primary, unless you're going to do farmer killing, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of what Belisarius is typically known for, but he's probably not going to be a primary commander. Just based on the talents that I see here, cavalry, versatility, and mobility. Now let's jump into some of the skills and read through kind of what makes him special. I think he has some really interesting mechanics that I'm personally a fan of, but I am also a little disappointed in some aspects. So here's his primary skill, Custodian of the Empire. And this is a single target skill with a rage requirement of 1,000. And he deals direct damage to a target troop, damage factor of 2,400, which is huge. That's one of the highest damage factors that we have in game today. Let me check my Zhuge Liang real quick, and I can show you guys as well. If we pull up Zhuge Liang and Scipio, Zhuge deals 2,000, and Scipio deals 2,000 as well. Now, the difference here, and this is the big thing, is AoE. Belisarius does not have any AoE. I'm really bummed by that. I think Cavalry could have used some more AoE. The other thing, and we'll talk about this when we get to pairs, is the only commander that you can really swap out in favor of Belisarius has AoE today, so that's kind of a problem. But the next thing is there's this debuff. For the next 2 seconds, the target loses 50 rage per second, so about 100 rage. And if the target is surrounded, it's inflicted with a deception effect for 5 seconds. Its active skills require 200 more rage to use. This is really cool. This is a mechanic that I haven't really seen come into play before, but I really like it because between this and Herman's Poison, you get some really big debuffs in the field. Now, this would have been even cooler with an AoE effect, but here we are. Now, what's going to be nice about this is it's going to make it so you're cycling your skills way quicker than your opponent. This also means that if you're pairing him with someone like XY, who's going to be throwing skills left and right really quickly, I think it's only 850 for him, then you're going to be essentially muting your opponent. It's almost like a silence effect, but it's not because they can't shrug it off. So this is really cool. I don't know that it makes me want to max him off the bat, but it is a nice effect. The other thing is this also is an if target is surrounded thing, which I'll tell you why I have some concerns about that in just a sec. Realistically, if a target is surrounded, we're talking murder ball. The target is probably not going to be able to pop off more than one skill anyways. So, sure, this is valuable, but I don't know. If a target's already surrounded, it's probably going to die before it can get off a skill. This is going to make sure that it does, but I don't know that it's that big of a deal when we talk about practicality. In 1v1s, this is going to be nice, but let's continue. Next skill, press the advantage. The cavalry units gain 30% attack and 20% march speed. This is pretty cool. If we look at some of the existing commanders that we have for march speed, this is actually pretty quick. So I think we get 15% march speed for Huo. We get, what do we get today for, we get 20% for Nevsky. You get 15% for Attila. So this is really up there. I think this might even be faster. Yeah, this is faster than Cao Cao as well. So I think if you put him with Nevsky, you may end up having one of the fastest cavalry marches in the game, which is kind of handy. But I don't know, whatever. I think for cavalry, march speed's a big deal, so that's nice. Now, the other thing that they have here is you have the cavalry march speed bonus when exiting combat, which is a Belisarius exclusive. And I'm kind of glad that they brought this to his prime as well. I think it's fitting. I think it's also going to be really nice because it lets you choose your battles a little bit more. I think when you're in a murder ball, you get targeted, you hit retreat. This is going to make it so you can really get out of that battle sooner, which I'm a fan of. I think it's a good skill. I liked it on standard Belisarius. I like seeing it on this one too. That said, 30% attack bonus, kind of meh. I would have liked to have seen health, but it is what it is. Next skill, to the last man. This commander's cavalry units gain 25% defense. While this commander's troop is on the map, whenever it launches a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage to the target. So this is fine. This is an additional damage factor. I think that means if you're using the skill tree, you do want to get that additional damage skill. 500 additional damage factor is fine. I'm really here for that defense, though. I think this balances him out a little bit more. You've got the defense with the attack. Helps make you a little bit tankier, even if you don't have the health. So this is fine. I think the other thing you have to keep in mind here is this is basic attack direct damage. So this can be instant proc damage, which I'm a big fan of. Because if you just touch a target, then you deal damage, which is really good for murder balls. I saw that with Scipio Lu this last KVK. I'm a big fan of the instant proc damage. Last skill. This commander takes 10% less skill damage. If this commander's troop is attacking another troop on the map, and the target troop has less than 80% units remaining, this commander's troop deals 30% more skill damage. So this one I really like because it is, again, a typical Belisarius skill. It's very on brand. I do like the skill damage taken reduction. I think that's really big when we're talking about being in murder balls and getting that AoE damage. But what's exciting to me is if the commander's troop is attacking another troop on the map, and the target troop has less than 80% units remaining, this commander's troop deals 30% more skill damage. So on the surface, kind of meh, right? 80% less units remaining. Again, if you're swarming a target, they're going to die instantly anyways. This does make it so they are going to die way quicker. But I do want to test this with an AoE commander. Because if you can put him with an AoE commander and you can attack a somewhat damaged march, and then you pop off your AoE damage, I think that you're still going to be dealing more skill damage in an AoE. So this is kind of a cool effect. We don't really have very many AoE cavalry commanders today, so that's kind of a bummer. But I do think that this is going to be a nice effect. We'll see how it works. Again, you can't really put Belisarius as primary because of mobility tree, but we'll see. Overall, I'm pretty happy with that. And his expertise. If the current target of this commander's troop is surrounded, increase the target's damage received based on the number of troops surrounding it. 3 troops, 6% more damage, 4 troops, 9% more damage, 5 troops, 12% more damage. And I will call out, I believe that this skill right here actually stacks with an existing skill that we've seen, which makes it so if you're attacking a troop, it'll actually count as 2 swarmers. We'll see. I think that we have a commander that has that today. That's fine. I think, again, this is just going to make it so when you are swarming a target, they're going to be dying really, really fast. So that's all the skills. Let's talk about who I think you could probably pair him with. He's got attack, he's got defense, he's got some cool debuffs, and he's got great march speed. Overall, he's a really viable cavalry commander. I really like that looking at him. I think I could put him behind almost anyone, but there are a couple commanders that really stick out to me. So here we are. We're in our commander tab, and I have to start with Nevsky. And the reason I have to start with Nevsky is because the 2 main cavalry marches that you're going to run in the game today are Huo and Joan, and Nevsky and William. William is kind of old, and he's like the #1 commander I think everyone's looking to get rid of in exchange for this new commander. So obviously we have to start with Nevsky. Nevsky does deal direct damage factor. Again, it's a single target, and it reduces his defense by number of troops surrounding by 15% for up to 3 troops. So this is pretty big. Now, there is a challenge here, because you can stack the debuffs. I think you could have Belisarius with Nevsky. The debuffs should stack, which is good. One is rage reduction, one is defense reduction. So that's a nice effect. The problem that I have with that is if your Nevsky then gets targeted, you kind of lose your swarm debuffs. So you may want to split them up. That's okay. Let's take a look at this. And then you have 20% attack and 20% march speed. Again, this is going to give you the speed that you really need. And then Nevsky has health, which balances out all of your skills now. So you've got attack, you've got defense, and then you've got the health, which I really like. Then you get more defense. So again, this is going to make you a little bit more swarm proof. We know cavalry need to be swarm proof. They're going to get hit by Scipio Luz, and you need to be swarm proof. The other thing is this commander troop deals 10% more damage and takes 5% less damage while surrounded, which we like. We also have that instant proc damage with Belisarius, which is going to be nice here for the target that you're actually targeting. Overall, I'm fine with this. I think that's a pretty decent pairing. You also have that skill damage taken reduction. So again, this is going to make that march a little bit tankier. And then you have, if this commander's troop contains only cavalry units, you deal 25% more skill damage. This is going to be huge because you have this 25% more skill damage, plus you have the if a target is below 80% with Belisarius, and then you have the fact that Belisarius has probably the highest or one of the highest single target damages. That's pretty wild. And you do get a buff here where if you have Nevsky Primary, you get 35% bonus to skill damage for 4 seconds, which means that your Belisarius' skill is going to be dealing even more damage, which is absolutely wild. Then you have the expertise here. Overall, I think this is really good synergy. If it were me, I'd probably be swapping out William for Belisarius. I think that's probably the general consensus. But let's look at Huo real quick and see if there's potential here. With Huo, you have deals direct damage target with a lot of damage factor. I think this is 2,700. What did we have with Belisarius? Let's go back here. We had 2,400. So Huo's still better, which is good. But that's a lot of damage. And then if serving a secondary commander, Huo is not going to be a secondary and reduces its march speed by 50%. So this is really interesting because if you have Huo with Belly, then you're going to be able to chase down just about any target, which is kind of nice. So I'm a fan of that. You get 40% attack, so this gives you even more attack. I don't like that, to be honest. I would rather have more balanced stats than all attack. Deal more damage versus archers, that's fine. If this commander's troop has been on the map for more than 30 seconds and has fought at least one battle, for the first 15 seconds, you deal more skill damage. Yes, we love that for Belisarius. You're going to be triggering your skills, and it requires 150 less rage to use, which is also going to be really nice with Belisarius. The other thing is the odds that you're in at least one battle with Belisarius as a secondary is actually going to be pretty good because you can run. The other thing here, after 15 seconds of combat, the troop deals 10% more normal attack damage. This plus the instant proc damage is going to be a really nice combo. I really want to test this. Then you have, if this commander's troop is attacking another troop, you get more defense, which we love. You deal more skill damage. Also, we love this. This makes it the highest nuking march, I think, in the game for a single target. Troop triggers Autumn Wind, so you get a little bit healing. That doesn't really matter. And then, if expertise, you get 35% defense instead. So, realistically, you could probably be putting him behind Huo, or you could be putting him behind Nevsky. My last thing before I let you guys go is going to be, let's take a look at William and see if you can really swap him out. So William deals direct damage factor of 1,500. If we pull up our Belisarius skill here, we see that he's dealing 2,400 damage factor. That's kind of a lot. That's kind of a lot of damage factor. Now, the thing here is with William, you do get a debuff. You get a pretty substantial debuff of march speed reduction, which is going to be nice, so you can chase down targets anyways. So that's fine. Let's take a look at his next skill. He gains 20% attack and 15% march speed, so this is going to be slower than Belisarius. But you do deal 10% more damage outside of territory, which is nice. I like that with William. You also have an AoE attack with William, which you don't have with Belisarius. If this commander's troop is on the map, you deal even more attack, right? Because there's 40% attack now. Whenever you launch a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage factor of 800. So this is a higher instant proc than Belisarius, I believe. Let's double check that real quick, but I believe it is. Let's see. Yeah, 800 versus 500. So, fine. You get defense here, whereas you get attack with William. Overall, I'm not crazy about that. I think that I kind of like the direct damage factor that you get here. And then you also do get the if a target's surrounded, it takes even more damage. Which is kind of similar to what Belisarius' skill is already, except the advantage here is that you don't have to worry about the rage regen. Again, the target that you're hitting is probably going to die anyways, Whereas with William, this is instant damage. It doesn't really matter whether the target's low or not. Keep going. And the last skill, if it hits exactly one target, you get 16% defense. If it hits 2 or more targets, you get a nice buff to everyone to increase their rage per second, which I actually prefer to debuffing the single target. I prefer the William skill here for a couple reasons. With William, you're buffing your other marches, which means you're going to deal more damage to that target holistically. Whereas with Belisarius, you're not only buffing your single march and you're debuffing the target, but the target's going to be dying anyways, so that rage reduction really doesn't matter because the damage that they're going to output is really not very high. So I guess the question that you would ask here is, if you've maxed William, should you be going for Belisarius? Honestly, first impressions, probably not. I hope that you've enjoyed. If you have, do be sure to hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner, and drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed. There are a lot of these out there, and so the more likes I get, the more it helps me out. Thank you all. Chappy out.